Hey everybody, I'm PJ, and this is my Brandish speedrun from last June 2016, completed in 104.50, and this is the SNES version. I thought I would just do some commentary for this to make it a little bit more palatable, because I know this is a really hard game to follow if you don't know what's going on, and it's unrealistic for me to expect any of you to watch that old run without commentary. So here we are. Now, the thing that makes Brandish so difficult to understand is that Varric, our main character, is always going to be facing up. So to turn like this, you turn the entire dungeon around you. And it makes it really confusing to follow. Hopefully by the end of this run, you will have a better grasp of how this works. Real quick, this is a room that you will never see in your first playthrough of the game. To access this room, what you have to do is you have to jump into that trap tile, that hole, and you have to hold the jump button. And if you're holding the jump button, it takes you into this room. Now, ordinarily, the trap tiles in the first floor of Ruins take you just into the basement, and then you take the stairs to get back up to the first floor. But if you hold jump, you get taken there. And what that gets us is the warp spell, which we just saw. Now, the warp spell allows you to teleport to any tile that's adjacent to any tile that you stepped on in exchange for all of your MP. So to explain a little bit more what's going on here with the HUD, the item that's always being shown on the map, there's the warp spell again, that is the item that we currently have equipped. When a window pops up on the side there and you see me switching items, that's my inventory. Now, the inventory is always done in real time. There's nothing in this game that pauses the action, except for the options menu and the dimensional box, which we'll see in a few floors. I think Ruins 4. So there are a bunch of items that are recurring, that are common to all dungeons. The one that we have equipped right now is the Master Key. The Master Key is used to unlock all common locked doors. The thing that I just picked up is a unique key. This one is the Skull Key. The Skull Key is used to unlock one very specific door. And there are a large number of very different unique keys. And those unique keys are recycled from dungeon to dungeon, but the same key is not recycled within the same dungeon. So there is no more Skull Key or a door that's unlocked by the Skull Key in the Ruins, but in the tower there is a Skull Key. So Brandish is a really interesting action RPG puzzle-like game. There's all kinds of really unique, interesting puzzle rooms here. Sometimes they give you a hint for what's going on. There's a plaque on the wall or something that'll tell you. But other times, just like the room that was that we saw previously in Ruins Area 2, it's just an empty room with a bunch of chests on the far wall. What happens there is that you would normally take a step in or jump in, and you'd fall on the trap tile. It would take you into the basement, and then in the basement you could see the path that you were supposed to take by looking at the rubble that's on the ground. So that was supposed to be your cue there. And there's all kinds of these really clever interactions that make it a very interesting game to play through. But what stops most people is this camera behavior. I find the best way to orient yourself with this camera is to follow a long corridor like this. So we know that there's a door on the left side here. So you can see I turn left to open it. Now we have to go back down the corridor. We're going to take the first right here. Right here. And we turn to face it. So it's a lot easier to navigate, obviously, once you know the maps, once you know what's going on. But once you understand how the camera works, it's not too bad. So what just happened there is I rested. So resting is a feature in this game that allows you to recover your health and your magic, your MP rather. MP regenerates over time, health does not. The only way to refill health is by drinking a health potion or by resting. And you can rest at any point. You press L plus R. The issue is that the game, not only does the game continue, but the game is accelerated. So if there's an enemy in front of you and you rest, you're going to die. You also take additional damage while you're resting. So it's a really interesting mechanic. If you find an empty room or something where you can lock yourself in, you can recover all of your health. It's very handy for a first playthrough. We don't use it much in a speedrun, because the rate at which your health and your MP increase is the same. So right now we're still at level 1. Our health and our MP pool are rather low, so resting is a feasible way to refill all of it, but later on we just use potions. So the girl that we just saw there was Alexis. Nice clip there, boulder clip. Essentially what happened there is that both of us tried to occupy the same tile at the same time, and we just phased through. Boulders will ordinarily crush you if they run into you. You're supposed to retreat once you trigger the boulder and go into a little cubby on the side. Alexis, so the main story here is that Varric had some beef with Alexis's master. Alexis is a magician, and we, in her words, completely destroyed him. So now she has a grudge against us, understandably so. So she hates us. We got into this big battle before the game, and she exploded the floor underneath us, and that brought us down into these ruins. This is the buried tower. I don't really remember the rest of the lore. Essentially, there was some tower with Dragon Friend, and all of it got buried underground, and that's where we are right now. So we have to go through the ruins to reach the tower. The tower takes us into the cave, which is still underground. And then beyond the cave is the fortress, where there's a bad dude who tries to use the dragon's power for evil. So there are a whole bunch of other things that we picked up. I'm going to go over those a little bit later. Ruins Area 5 is a very unique floor. This has these traps, these log things that are coming out from the wall. Now, ordinarily, there are these switches that you can hit to freeze them in place. So you're supposed to go through and freeze these so that you can create a path to cross safely. That's slow, so what we do in a speedrun is we do something similar to the boulder clip, where we try to occupy the same tile as the pushers at the same time. And it's really dangerous. Again, we're at level 1, so our health is extremely low. And if they hit us, we take damage from getting hit, and then we take damage from falling in the pit. The pits here just do damage. They don't bring us to a basement or something. So, here it is. Here's the approach. And one more. Oh, I'm sorry. 2 more. Beautiful. And that takes us out. So, along the way, we've been collecting a few things. The thing I have equipped right now is a health potion. It's important in that floor because I take a lot of damage, and there's a purposeful jump into the pit. I don't think there's any way around that, actually. I think you have to jump in the pit to go in the side corridor. The other things we've been collecting, we collected invisibility potion, which is the most broken potion in all of RPGs. You'll be seeing a lot of that later. We also pick up hardening potion, which is used to give more durability to your weapons. Again, we'll touch on that later. We got some magic potion, M potion, that refills MP, obviously. And then I think everything else that we've collected is... yes, the fire magic. Fire magic is pretty straightforward. It casts a fireball in exchange for MP. Fireball does a fixed amount of... Nope. It does damage based on your... let me think what they call it here. I think it's intelligence in this game. Basically your magic stat. It's really handy. Let's see, we got a life ring. Oh no, life ring came with our dimensional box. Life ring, maybe it didn't. I don't remember where I got the life ring. Life ring revives you if it's in your inventory and you die. This is a really beautiful floor. So what's happening here is there's a warp tile in each of these rooms, and this dungeon is just a symmetrical dungeon. So there's one branch that extends up. See, we stepped backwards onto a warp tile and the chest appeared to be closed again. That's because it warped us to an identical room with different chest contents. So you can see here, there's one branch that extends upwards to the north and one branch that extends to the west. And as we make progress in each branch, it teleports us to the other side. And this was a really interesting floor to play through the first time, because you'd be checking the map, and you'd be proceeding in this linear fashion, and then suddenly you'd be in the completely wrong side of the map. Drinking the water, it's a unique tile that refills all of your HP. We opened up the door earlier in this floor so that I can warp inside the room later. Some really dangerous enemies, but we made it through. I've also been collecting gold bars and money because we need to use the shop at a few different places in this run. And we also collected this chainmail because we need armor. Like, the leather armor does not provide us with much survivability here, and we definitely need it. Any of these enemies would kill us in one hit. So we get the fire magic because the fire magic is useful for killing frogs. Frogs are extremely threatening here. I think even with the armor they might kill me in one hit. I really don't remember. And this is where we start to level up. So leveling in this game is it's based on use. So there's character level, which is based on experience. That's the number of enemies that you've killed. I don't want that frog to get in my way. And then there's a few other stats like knowledge. That's your magic stat, essentially. The more you use magic spells, the more your knowledge will increase. And there's arm strength, which is the most important stat for us. So the more times you hit an enemy, the more arm strength experience you'll get. And it's based on number of hits, not amount of damage you dealt. So if we look back to the very beginning of the game, some of you might have been confused not only by that extremely strange camera, but also because the first thing I did in the game, besides change the game speed, is throw my weapon on the ground and leave it there. That's because we just want to punch these things to death and build up some arm strength. These gnomes give really good arm strength experience. So the route that I'm using here for killing enemies and building up arm strength is based on the route that Breakdown gave me. Breakdown was the original runner of this game, the original and only runner of this game. And I picked it up in March of 2016, I believe. And at the same time, Aussie, who's currently the best by a wide margin, he has the record by like 8 minutes. I think he has a 56:29 or thereabouts, whereas this is a 104:50. We both started learning it at the same time and started making some changes at the same time. But this experience route is the same route that Breakdown told me about. So I don't bother killing anything in any of the previous floors simply because they don't give me a substantial amount of experience. So all of the enemies that we're going to kill in Ruins are in areas 9 and 10. So another thing that's worth mentioning here, we collected an item called the Dimensional Box back in Ruins 4. That's when we teleported onto the tile that the boulder was occupying. The Dimensional Box gives you some extra space. So the inventory is only 4 tiles. It's 3x4. The Dimensional Box gives us an additional 3x4. It's really important because we're going to be collecting a lot of things to sell and a lot of backup items later on in the run. But the Dimensional Box has another feature that's really important, and that is it allows us to rearrange our inventory and combine like items. This is another map, or another screen that has teleporters that are unmarked. You just kind of have to map it out in your head, or on graph paper, whatever you prefer. But this is a very confusing screen. Oh man, what was I saying? Oh right, so if you collect 2 stacks of health potions, you have 10 and 10, it'll occupy 2 slots in your inventory by default. We're making a slight detour here to get the Ring of Ice, and maybe Hardening Potion? Alright, just Ring of Ice. You can't combine those 2 health potions by default. You have to open up the Dimensional Box, and that allows you to rearrange items and combine stacks. The only thing that can't be combined, which confused me at first, but makes complete sense, is items. You can't weapons. You can't combine weapons. Weapons have durability in this game. We're going to be getting a saber here. You'll see the durability in just a bit when we fight our first boss. But each weapon is only good for a certain number of swings. And once it reaches 0, it breaks. Now, if you have 2 sabers, you can't just combine them together using the dimensional box to get one more durable weapon. You still have 2 sabers of questionable durability. Alright, so the saber is still not equipped, it's just my active item. We just have to kill one more dwarf, and then we have the first boss. So, the first thing that we're going to do is, I think we're going to use Hardening Potion. Yep. It gives us somewhere between 10 and 20 more durability. We got 11, which is a bad roll. We're going to lower the game speed, which is an in-game feature, which is very handy. Because this boss is too fast to react to normally. Now, what we're going to do here is, this is the Magician. The goal is to hit the real one. There's one real and 2 fake. We want to hit the real one with the ice ring. Because that'll desync him from the other 2, so then we're able to easily identify which one's the real and which one's the fake. The fake ones cannot be hit by the ice ring, it'll just go through them. And once we've identified which one's the real one, we just wait for a convenient location and we wail on him. One of the other things I used is the magical pouch or luck pouch or what I don't know what it's called anymore. This thing, lucky charm. This increases your luck stat, which influences how much damage you take and how much damage you deal. So what we're doing here is trading. I'm not really sure how the shield works. Sometimes you're able to nullify all damage if you block it straight up. Other times enemies are still able to damage you, but at the very least with this shield level and this boss, I'm able to nullify all of his damage by just tanking the hit. So I just set it up to trade with him. I make sure that I'm squared up with him, and when he hits me, I counterattack exactly once, and that's it. When I have a chance, I use the magical pouch and increase my luck so I do more damage. So this girl, her parents were killed by that crab monster. I think he has a name. I don't remember who he is, so Crab Devil, I think, is the name. So after getting revenge, we have to go back and we have to talk to her and tell her that we killed them. And what we get in exchange is this gold band. And if you don't have the gold band, when you get to this door, this one right here, if you try and open it or do anything besides insert the gold band, you're instantly killed, which is a shame. I mean, it's humorous, but it's a shame. Alright, so we get a few more things. We now have an infinite short sword. Short sword is the weakest weapon class, but that is infinite durability. So again, you think it might be a useful thing to use to kill things now instead of punching. But again, the only time we're going to be killing enemies is if we need the experience, and if we need the experience, we want to maximize our experience by punching. So we collect the infinite short sword just to sell. And that's the ruins. So that's the first of the 4 dungeons, technically 5 dungeons. And once you clear one of the major dungeons, then you get this cutscene, and it takes you directly to the next place. And all of the cutscenes are essentially the same. It's all, wow, we did it, we got out. Oh man, there's so much more to go before we're at the surface. So far so good. Now, the reason I'm doing commentary for this now is because I was holding off before until I got a run that I was completely satisfied with, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to return to this in the future. But this is a game, I love Brandish to death, I absolutely do, and I recommend that anybody who's even remotely interested in this game, or finds this run entertaining at all, I recommend that you go play it, because it's outstanding. It's an extremely satisfying experience. So I loved playing this game. I loved every part of this experience. But I kind of reached my goal with this. I never really intended to grind it down super low because this game has a lot of RNG in it and a lot of very costly RNG. So I got a run, and I got the first deathless run of this game, and I'm super happy about it. This was, at the time, the world record, and then Aussie absolutely murdered this time. I think this is the record for a single day, and then he clobbered it. So I have no intentions of returning to it for actual speed. So I figured I may as well record commentary and seal the deal. So the tower is really neat. I enjoy the tower a lot. It has really unambiguous tiles. This tile set is really easy on the eyes. It's easy to identify trap tiles. It's easy to identify walls that can be sledgehammered, and even the invisible walls that you can just walk through. It's really easy to see them. So the tower is quite nice. We're at the point though. I don't know what level I am. Really low though. Maybe like 5, level 4, something like that. And we still only have one piece of equipment that's above starting gear. So we're still pretty much instantly killed by any enemy. This room is really dangerous. So there are 4 archers here, or maybe 5. You have to kill all of them. When you kill the last one, he'll drop a key. This is what we need the saber for. Looks like 4 archers. So, we kill them. The spell's been broken. I'm sorry, he doesn't drop a key. It just opens up the door. Once we kill them, we don't need the saber anymore. We just drop it on the ground. It's worth basically nothing to sell. Weapon value is based on the durability that's remaining. So, it's no good to us. Alright, once again, we have these switches on the ground that we have to hit. Boop. Warp tile brings us somewhere else. Make a slight detour to get the Ring of Life, because those are extremely important. Not only is it important just from like a survivability standpoint, but it's important for a skip that we do later on in the run. And there's one point where a Ring of Life is absolutely required to progress the game, because our level's going to be too low to survive a mandatory pitfall. But the way that this game progresses, it's really interesting. Most of these stages, or floors I suppose, they have like one major gimmick. So if we look back at Ruins, you know, there's a one floor with the pistons, the log traps that shoot out from the wall. There is one trap, or one room with the teleporters that teleport you to a symmetrical, identical room on the other side of the map. It's really cool the way that it works. The gimmick of this floor is, of course, that there's one key at the beginning and 3 locked doors. And each of those locked doors requires the dragon key, the one you pick up. So, you get to pick a door. It's like a choose your own adventure book. You pick the door, and you have to live with the consequences. This is a really interesting floor because there's a thief up here, and we save the ice ring from the magician fight. To freeze him. So if you get too close to a thief, he charges at you, and he steals one of your items and then runs away. He doesn't vanish, he just runs away, and to get the item back you have to kill him, and then he'll drop it on the ground and you can recollect it. It's extremely time-consuming and extremely difficult to kill him, so we just freeze him and move on with our life. Alright, this is an ingenious skip that Breakdown found. What you're supposed to do in that floor, this is also why the warp spell is so incredible. What you're supposed to do in this floor, that room that I fell from, you're supposed to go in these side rooms, and every few of those has a puzzle for you. And when you solve that, then a few of those empty holes in that big open room are filled, and you're able to proceed. It's very time-consuming to do that, so we take advantage of the fact that the warp spell allows us to teleport to any adjacent tile, and do a few kitty corner teleports to get around doing that entire puzzle, and to get around another trap tile that was in the final room there. In this room, at the beginning of this floor, with all of those isolated pillars, it's a maze. There are invisible teleporters there that will return you to the beginning of the room. So you kind of have to map that out as well and figure out how to get up to the top. So I think we just grabbed a few potions and maybe some invisibility potions, hardening potions, gold bars. I'm not really sure what was in those other chests. I wasn't paying attention. So the warp magic is super, super amazing. It's like extremely pivotal for a speedrun. When you're playing through this the first time, these rooms are really involved and really long. Alright, I'm saving here because these guys are dangerous. If they hit me once, I die. I only needed to kill one for arm strength experience. Now this is also dangerous because these archers, the archers also kill me instantly. And there's this invisible room, or the invisible door, fake wall, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes archers hide there, so when you try and slip through, they just shoot you and kill you. And that sucks. So, yeah, I saved because the knight's dangerous, and I saved because the archers are dangerous. And I equipped invisibility potion as well to make sure that I get through. So the invisibility potion, it makes it so that enemies cannot see you at all, and enemies will never attack you while you're invisible. Oh man, this room is legendary. I'll get back to invisibility potion, I promise. So this room, there's a plaque on the wall that will help you solve this. And the plaque says something along the lines of, the room reads southeast from the far wall or something like that. So what it's trying to tell you is that you have to spell SE on these switches, or you have to depress the switches such that they read SE from the far door if you were to look back on the room. And it took me a really long time, my first time through, to figure that out, because I had guessed it, but I spelled it with the wrong orientation, or I spelled it the wrong way. Or then I was like, what if I just have to hit every switch that's on camera in the southeast? That was a tough room, but it's a really clever puzzle in hindsight. So one thing I didn't mention is that this game autosaves every time you enter a new floor. Well, it's really not every time you enter a new floor, it's every time you change floors at all. So when I was in floor Tower 8 here, and I did that skip with the warp spell and I fell down the pitfall, it brought me back to Tower 7. It autosaved there. Even though I had been to Tower 7, it autosaved anyways because I changed floors. Here's another skip. There's a cutscene here normally. Once you step on the tile directly in front of me, we're going to warp Kitty Corner and just jump over Alexis. We don't need to hear what she has to say. We're going to build arm strength a little bit more on this guy. One minor inconvenience with this game, this whole level system, is that since everything is done in real time, the level up boxes, or really any boxes, like this chest is locked, or you open the chest, whatever, any text box that appears eats your inputs until the text box is fully written. So if you're trying to attack and the text box appears, or you're trying to move and the text box appears, it eats that input and then you're likely to die. So what we have to do is push up, and up will automatically write all of the text to the text box at once. So when we're fighting an enemy, or when we're preparing to move, take evasive maneuvers, if we get a level up, we have to quickly push up and then do the inputs to dodge or attack or whatever the case may be. And it's really counterintuitive, and it's extremely frustrating at first. Even beyond at first, it's just really frustrating in general. But that's the way it has to be. So in addition to saving automatically whenever you change floors, you can also force save whenever you want. So we have our next fight here, the third boss. Well, the third boss in the run. We technically skipped one boss in Tower, who's completely optional. This is Rakshasa. So we can't block Rakshasa, so we can't do the same strat that we used on Crab Devil. And this is where things, this is where what I just mentioned come into play. So I'm doing 2 swings here. If I get a level up on the second swing, it eats my input to back up. So if I don't automatically tell all the text to draw in the window, Rakshasa would just smash my face in and kill me. Alright, so we got some more health potions, we killed Rakshasa, and we get an infinite rapier, which is pretty nice. We do equip the infinite rapier because there are a few enemies in the caves that we would like to kill. That would be very helpful. We are still, I think when we saved, it said we were level 6. I didn't count how many level ups we got on Rakshasa, but I think it was like 3, 2 or 3. Oh wait, no, those were arm strength. Yeah, we're still probably like level 7. So these bats are completely unpredictable and kill us in 2 hits, I believe. They're awful. At this point in the game, we just have to avoid all damage. This is where invisibility potions come in handy. I've kind of just been like bogarting these. I've been collecting them and just throwing them in my bag. I use them in one floor in the tower to avoid instant death archers. We're going to be using all of our invisibility potions here. The caves are just super dangerous. The caves have some really interesting gimmicks, though. There are some neat floors here. So the caves count up. So this is basement 10, and the caves will count up to B1. So, water, you can't fall in water. You can't just like accidentally jump and fall in water and die or anything like that. Water is treated like a wall, but you can step on the the floating rocks that are in there just fine. Once you jump on these, you don't really have room for maneuvering, so these bats can kind of just do whatever they want. We're not wasting invisibility potion here. We're just going to use the health potion and recover whatever damage we take. So far, so good. You might notice that as I'm going through this, I'm walking past some NPCs or enemies that look, or sprites that look like they're not enemies. There are a whole bunch of really interesting quests that you can do in this game. There's a nymph that wants you to drain the lake. There's a girl who lost her boyfriend, and you should go find him. And if you do those quests, you'll get different things. You can get a dimensional box, or, I mean, if you choose the wrong quest, you can get another boss fight, where the woman missing her boyfriend is actually a spider. Alright, so this is the Cave of Wandering, or the Room of Wandering. This room is infuriating when you don't understand what's happening. What's happening here is that at every intersection, it's not teleporting you, but it's reorienting you in a random direction. So you have to look at the compass every time you go to one of these intersections. You have to have a good sense of where you're supposed to be going, what direction you were heading. And then when it reorients you, you have to be quick to quick to react and adjust yourself appropriately. That room in my first playthrough, so I did this whole game in one sitting. That room was where things took a turn for me, where I went from thinking this game was amazing and the greatest thing of all time to, okay, this game's not fooling around anymore. Alright, so the caves are a bit, caves are interesting to play because they have some ambiguous tiles. It's sometimes hard to figure out what's a fake wall and what's a fake trap tile. And in addition to that, they do have some invisible walls. Invisible fake walls. No visual cue. So the caves are really tough. Then we have this room. So this is where we use most of our invisibility potion. No, alright, we just chug 2 of them and get through. That room without using invisibility potion is terrifying. But yeah, this is what the bats do. They fly completely aimlessly, and when they hit you, they go through you and then hit you again from behind. So you're guaranteed to take 2 hits from a bat, and you only have 1 chance to hit them. That's when they're in front of you. So we have some really scary enemies here. I think we need to go through the back wall. I think there's a fake wall with some gear that we want. I might be thinking of a different floor. I'm pretty sure it was here. No, it wasn't. I was thinking of a different floor. So we're still just kind of accumulating items to sell later. I think I got lost in this floor. I think I did. Oh man, almost got clobbered. Yeah, Cave 7's really interesting because the exit's right there, and you know, whenever the exit is accessible at the beginning, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can collect. So like I said, this is a route that's based on the route that Breakdown gave me, the route that he developed. This route, as such, is really safe. I collect a whole bunch of unnecessary things. That tile triggers the boulder to roll at us. We don't want to deal with that, so we just teleport kitty corner to the boulder. These sword enemies are instant death if they touch me. Well, at this level, not ordinarily. But they can only go horizontally, and they're aggroed once you're in line with them. So you just have to make sure that if you do line up with a sword, you get out of the way real quick. Yeah, that room with the staircase there, the very last room of Cave B6, is another room like the Cave of Wandering. This is a really interesting room as well. The first boulder tile triggers all of the other boulders to roll. Yeah, so I'm taking... Oh, Medusa. Alright, I'll mention Medusa real quick. If you're lined up with Medusa, she can petrify you. When you're petrified, you can't block. So if you get hit by petrify, she just kills you. It's bad times, and I'm getting super bad luck. What I'm trying to do is lure her down. Well, I'm trying to gain a lot of ground heading north, and then lure her down so I can just teleport behind her. Killing her is completely out of the question. And I don't want to waste my invisibility potions on her. So that's a fake wall. You can identify fake walls when they don't have a tell on the map. You can identify fake walls by looking at your map. They will show on the map as a doorway. And there's another one here. I don't remember what's here. Gold bars, maybe? Yeah. So yeah, again, we're just getting a whole bunch of extra money. There's a shop in Cave B3. And we're gonna just stock up on a whole bunch of items that we're gonna need for the rest of Caves and Dark Zone. So we're gonna sell most of our belongings. We don't need the fire magic anymore. We only needed the fire magic for a few enemies and in ruins. The gold bars, obviously, we don't need any of them. They're just there to sell. All of these other weapons we've been collecting, we don't care about. There are better weapons than falchions and rapiers and sabers. Really, the only things we're keeping are our potions and the rings of life. And the 2 master keys we need for Fortress. So, with this route, I buy some more stacks of health potions, because I collect a lot of extra gold, and then we buy as many invisibility potions as we can. And with this route, it allows us to buy 90 invisibility potions. Seems excessive until you see the rest of the game. So, this is the route that I used, and the route that Breakdown taught me. Aussie actually went through and he took a much riskier approach here. So he collected like half as much stuff, bought half as many invisibility potions. He had it calculated down to like in which rooms he needed to use invisibility potion and how many invisibility potions he had budgeted. Whereas when I play, I just have the invisibility potions active and I chug as many as I need to get through. One thing that's really important to note that I didn't know about in my first playthrough is that all of these magic spells and all of these the potions, the invisibility potions, they stack. So I was under the impression that when you use it, if you were to use a second one, it would just refresh the duration, it wouldn't stack. But it does stack, so we can get into these situations where we just chug 40 invisibility potions and then fight a boss. Another really interesting thing here, when you're trying to jump, if a bat occupies a tile that you're supposed to jump onto, you won't get a 2-tile jump. You'll get a 1-tile jump because the tile that you want to occupy is blocked. If a bat blocks you there and you fall in the pit, you have to redo the previous floor. Like, you have to warp up, drink a magic potion, and then warp back and hope that you don't get blocked. So this is why we have so many invisibility potions. We're gonna kill these things. These enemies, they would kick my ass if they hit me. So I'm being super paranoid. You know, like, I'm invisible for like 5 seconds after I already kill them, but it's better to just chug an excess number of invisibility potions and make sure that you kill them than it is to drink one short and die. But you can see how many levels we're getting, like how many actual levels and how many arm strength levels from fighting these things. One thing that is kind of frustrating, and also something that makes it very interesting to play this game, is that when you're invisible, enemies don't react to you, so you have to just kind of like strafe around and figure out where they're going to be going. You have to try and kind of lead them. You can block off certain paths in advance. It's really interesting that way. This is a cool room. So once you enter that room with the 10 chests, well, there's a plaque on the wall that says, like, the path only opens, or the path will never open for the greedy, something like that. You're locked in as long as a chest is open. So what you have to do if you want the contents is open up the chest, take it, and then close the chest afterwards. If a chest is open, the door is locked. The door back and the door forward. Alright, so the music has changed. You can probably guess what that means. There's a boss coming up. This boss is an asshole. He is incredibly difficult. He's super, super fast, and we have to fight him all invisible because we can't block him. We can't really do anything to him. So what we're going to try and do is the strat that Breakdown taught me. And we're going to try and jump past him and then trap him up here. So he's going to just try and keep running around. Sometimes he'll give us the okie doke and turn around backwards. But once you have him trapped, as long as you're patient, he shouldn't leave. So right there, instead of going across the top, he went straight down and juked me. It's an awful fight. It's so bad. There's one pseudo manipulation that you can do. So what happens with this guy is that he runs around like crazy. If you're far away from him, he throws a ton of shurikens that can't be blocked and do a lot of damage. And when he gets to like a certain point in his health, I'm not sure what percentage it is, he will create a clone of himself that does the same exact thing. And it's awful. And if he's close to you, he just stabs you, and you die. Alright, so, having completed the caves, we enter Dark Zone. Now this is where I started to get really angry in my first playthrough. So Dark Zone only has 2 floors. Dark Zone 1 is a completely huge empty room with 4 corners. Well, 4 corners of interest. That was one of them. I hit a switch there. I'm going across the top, and I'm going to hit the other switch. Switch on the wall to open up the door. Switch inside, and then we're going to warp. You can see what this room kind of looks like from this map. And that's going to take us down here to the exit that takes us to Dark Zone 2. Now, if you fall, Dark Zone 1 is just completely covered in pits that are invisible. And the only way to detect if there's a pit there is to either check your map every step to see if the adjacent tile is a pit, or use iron balls. So you take a step, you drop an iron ball. If it identifies a trap, then you jump over it or whatever. But Dark Zone 1's really, really infuriating. Dark Zone 2 is even more so, because it has pitfalls that take you back to Dark Zone 1. So if you fall here, and the Dark Zone 2, you should... I recommend that you check a map of this and just see for yourself how stupid this is. Dark Zone 2 is about 80% trap tiles. There's exactly one way to get through these rooms. And it's horrible. And you can see I'm down to 17 invisibility potions, and I was at 99 in Fortress 3. I'm sorry, in Caves 3. And Dark Zone also has the issue that I mentioned before, where if like an enemy tries to occupy the same tile that you're hoping to jump to, then you get a one-tile jump. Well, if that happens, then you no longer jump over the pit, you jump square into the pit, and again, it drops you down a floor, and you take a bajillion damage. At this level, the pitfalls, the actual traps that damage you, not the ones that take you to different floors, the actual pitfalls that damage you do a set amount of damage. Not like a percentage of health or anything like that. And again, we're still so under-leveled that falling in a pitfall does like 90% of our health or something ridiculous. I don't think it kills us, but it does a ton of damage. Alright, so now we enter Fortress. We're gonna do one more shopping excursion. This is our last opportunity to shop. So we're going to sell everything. Selling it all. Now, it's nice of him at the end of Dark Zone 2 to give us another Ring of Life and a 50 stack of gold bars. We're going to use all of those for sure. We're just going to go through and sell pretty much everything. We're going to buy as many invisibility potions as we possibly can, because we need all of them. I don't know if I might buy another stack. Yeah, I have 3,000 gold remaining after I buy all these, so I'm probably going to buy another stack of health potions. Maybe I'll spend it on magic potions, I'm not sure. No, those cost 10,000. We're buying more health potions. Fortress is a beast. So, it should be no surprise to you that every enemy here will kill us in one hit, or close to one hit. So whenever we're about to confront an enemy, or whenever we're in danger of confronting an enemy, we're going to chug an invisibility potion just to make sure that we survive. So, the first few floors of Fortress, the first few rooms of Fortress 1F have us facing against the previous bosses that we've seen. Now, we didn't see them, Headless. He's the optional boss in Tower. We also didn't see the spider boss. That's the girlfriend that's in Tower. But we're going to be seeing the others. We're going to see Chimeras. Here they are. And we're going to see Ninja. And again, we just have to be... we have to be invisible just all the time here. So, grab the key, teleport back up here. This should be the ninja room, if I remember right. It's unlikely I'll ever forget this room. So we can only damage this ninja from a damaging tile. And again, you can't move as you're getting levels. So I have to swap between invisibility potion and healing potion while making sure that I draw the text boxes as quickly as possible so I can avoid dying to damaging tile. And all of that takes us to this floor. This room's really interesting. The clue that they give you here doesn't make any sense, but what you're supposed to do is hit a switch. A switch will move all the pillars around except for one. So you check your map, you make a mental note of where the pillars are, you step on a switch, you make another note. Once you find the tower, or the pillar that doesn't move, you have to approach it from the south and search it, and that will reveal the switch. So what we're doing here now is killing these guys, and that's because these guys have an extremely high chance to drop hardening potions. Actually, no, it's not extremely high, it's guaranteed. So with the exception of the first two, all of the rest of these will drop hardening potions. Like I mentioned before, hardening potion increases the weapon durability, and we're at the point where we actually need to be killing enemies. We no longer want to just be punching them for experience. They have to die. So hardening potion is super important. And again, this is an extremely safe route that I'm taking. I'm collecting a lot more hardening potion, I'm collecting a lot more items to buy more invisibility potions than I would need. But I really wanted to finish the run. So this floor is one of the most terrifying and one of the most frustrating floors in the game. This enemy can't be damaged. You can freeze him, but you can't damage him. You just have to avoid him. What happens once you hit that green switch is that all of the doors in the entire dungeon are opened. Well, except the doors that are locked by key. but there are like 50 doors in this dungeon that are opened at once. And also when you do that, it releases these enemies, I forget the actual name, but I always call them the map erasers. They're these floating eyes that are not inhibited by any physical boundaries. They just fly through the map, and if they cross any tile that you've stepped on, that tile gets erased from the map. Not erased from like the actual game, but erased from the map, so you can't teleport to it. That was one of them flying by. In my first playthrough, I was a really high level, and they still killed me in one hit. They are absolutely terrifying enemies, and there are 3 of them. Alright, so this is where we have to use 1 ring of life. There is no way to cross that gap without jumping in a pit. But again, the game just kind of expects that you're a high enough level to survive that jump. We're not. So we have to have the ring of life, we jump in, we die, we get back out. This is the spider boss. We really want what's behind them. I believe it's a key. I believe it is, but I know there's also a lot of good stuff here. Some hardening potions and ring of life, yeah. Master keys, hardening potions. All kinds of good stuff here. Some clear confusion on what I want to do. So the only visual indicator that you get here for fake walls is that the eyes on the wall blink differently for a fake wall. Now there's all kinds of fake walls here, and I might be able to point them out. Switches glow green on the wall. Oh, this is a cool one. So this, you have to hit the switches in a particular order, and if you hit them in the wrong order, a pitfall appears, and you get dropped down into the previous floor. And in the previous floor, there's a plaque that gives you instructions on what to do. Alright, so here, this room, we're going to make a bridge, and to make the bridge, we need to hit these 5 switches, and the 5 switches are hidden behind invisible walls with bosses guarding them, and also teleporter mazes. So, I knew exactly where to go in this teleporter maze. I knew where the switches were, I knew where all the invisible walls were. Still scary, that's why I saved. Because some of these teleporters plant you directly in front of one of the bosses, and the bosses will hit you like the same frame that you appear. The other fun thing is that when you step on a teleporter, it keeps your bearing. So, if there's an enemy to the west, and you're facing north when you step on a teleporter, and you get teleported near that guy, you're still going to be facing north. So he's going to get a side attack on you and get extra damage. It's really unfortunate. But we did it. We hit all the switches. We're going to back out now and cross the bridge that's now made. There's a spider on the other side of this door, locked door. Going to clear her out of the way, and away we go. So there's one more floor here. Well, one more floor in this, well, you'll see. This floor, again, is really interesting. It's just a bunch of these grids where you only have access to certain doorways. And as more doors get opened, you can jump over those pits into the doorways, and it's great. But the game kind of blocks you out that way, so it takes you in this winding path all the way around the dungeon. We're going to do a skip, though, that the task does, and if you have a ring of life in your inventory and you jump in a pit and you hold the B button, it respawns you on top of the pit, so you can actually take action there. So you're not supposed to be able to open up that door because it's in front of a pit. You can't do that. But by abusing that glitch, we're able to. It's really clever. Alright, so we have one more boss fight here. These are the lobsters. There are 3 of them. The room is surrounded by damaging terrain, which we don't want to stand on, and it's also surrounded by pits, which we don't want to fall in. So we have a 3x3 area to navigate here. We're just gonna chug some invisibility potions and chase the lobsters around. Jam out to their awesome music, and hope that we're victorious here. You can see my damage just slowly diminishing over time. That's because the luck pouch ran out. So I refresh it there and we finish it off. With good luck, you'll kill them without having to refresh the luck pouch, but it is what it is. Alright, so the first floor, 4 floors of Fortress are, I hesitate to say linear, but it's the same complete one move to the next model that we see from the rest of the game. As you can tell, probably, it's no longer that way. We're in Fortress 7, and now back to 5. So Fortress 5, 6, and 7 are all interconnected, and it's a really neat concept, and it's very fun to play. There were just a few snags because there are some invisible walls like that one that you have to go in to get certain keys. And the 2 keys that I grabbed at the very beginning of Fortress 5F, I think it was Dragon Key and something else, those are required at the very end. And if you don't collect them, there's a teleporter and a plaque that mock you. And they say something along the lines of, "Aren't you forgetting something?" And the teleporter takes you back to 5F, takes you back to the very beginning so you can grab them. But yeah, these floors just wrap around all over the place with each other, and it's really fun to speedrun because you feel like a god when you're just cruising through and you know exactly where to go. And the teleporter spells, or the warp spells, also super handy here. Oh, this is a cute trick. So these are, there are 2 mimics back to back, or maybe it was, I'm trying to think what the situation was. I think there were 2 mimics back to back. So to get past it, we step up to the first one, use an invisibility potion, and then warp on top of that chest, and then jump over the mimic behind it. It's a really ingenious setup that Breakdown found. One thing I should mention is that the invisibility spell does allow some projectiles to pass through you, but it doesn't allow the fireballs from the piranha plants to go through you. And those fireballs do kill me in 1 hit at this point in the game. So we have to make sure that we're not getting hit by those. Alright, so what's happening here? This is a really neat interaction. Again, a really cool design. There's a switch that we find in Fortress 5 that says it requires excessive force to activate. So you might think, oh, I have to jump on it or something like that. I have to use a sledgehammer. What you have to do is go up to floor 7. You have to find the pitfall that coincides with that tile, and you have to jump on it. And you fall 2 floors onto it, and that's enough force to activate the door. Really, really neat. Alright, some more fake walls. Nope, that's a different corridor that I'm thinking of. Alright, this is a cool place. So there's this teleporter, and there's a switch on the wall next to it. If you step on the teleporter without hitting the switch, it takes you to this part, and if you step on it with hitting the switch, it takes you to a completely different area. And you have to do both. But with the warp magic, it's fine. Oh man, there's one room I keep expecting to see and I don't remember where it is. I think it must be after I hit the switch and then warp. Grab the key, warp, back up to the previous floor. We're gonna warp again here, back to the switch. This is why the warp magic is so good, because even though these rooms are all interconnected, we don't have to backtrack in the same order that we, the same sequence we took to get there. We can just cut directly to it. So, without the warp magic, this section sucks. It's awful. But the warp magic is very handy. You need full MP to use this. One other thing that's handy about being underleveled is that we require less MP to use warp. It requires like full MP meter, but since I'm a lower level, the actual value is lower. So, for the beginning of the game, we can recover MP just by resting for like half a second and then warp again. Late game, we have to use the MP potions still. Alright, so we grab a star shield there. That improves our defense a little bit. That's very important for later on in the ground. This guy scares me. He's killed me in a few previous runs, so I always kill him. I always take some extra precautions to make sure he goes away. I really love the design of these 3 floors. It's just such a great way to end the run, instead of just having 3 more consecutive floors. These interactions are really beautiful. Alright, this is more invisible walls. It's locked! I think that's the last key that I need. I think I only need 9 here. Alright, this is the room. So this is one long corridor with a fire plant. So what I'm doing is kind of buffering this map until I see the fireball. And once I see the fireball at the top of the screen and I warp, I'm guaranteed to warp past it. You can still be hit during the warp animation, which sucks. So that's a setup that I found to guarantee that I get through. So we grabbed the double magic. That literally doubles the damage that we do. It's extremely necessary and directly along the way. And the solution to the teleporter there was to just stand still. That's literally it. You just have to stand in place on the teleporter and it'll take you there. Alright, this room, the puzzle there is to kill the Rakshasa. The headless don't give you anything. The Rakshasa is the one with the key. And this is another really scary thing. So we're level 27. An arrow can do over 70 damage to us while we're blocking. So I I hit the luck pouch before the arrow corridor to give me some more favorable numbers, and then saved and hoped for the best, but it is possible to get instantly killed there. I'm getting a Ring of Life because, again, it's required to progress with the game. There's another pitfall thing that I'm forced to jump into. Alright, so what happens here is a Rakshasa is attacking Alexis, and she has the Bulimia key. Not sure what I'm waiting for here. Alright, so that's what we have to use the Ring of Life for. There's no way to get around that. You're forced to jump in a pit, and a pit instantly kills me. You can save Alexis by killing the Rakshasa, and then she rewards you with the key and leaves. And the cutscene takes a little bit of time, so it's faster to kill her. You're rewarded with bad ending, but it's a little bit faster. Alright, this is Dragon Guy. I don't really remember what his name is. He sucks. The fireballs don't hit you when you have invisibility potion active. You just have to go up and just mash the A button and hope that you win and make sure that you cancel text boxes. It's very rare that you don't win if you drink like 40 invisibility potions, but it can happen. And you get knocked back every time he breathes fire directly on you. You don't take damage, but you get knocked back. Alright, so we have the Planet Blaster now, which is a really righteous name for a sword. Pretty awesome weapon. That is also infinite use, so we don't need hardening potions or anything like that anymore. And we're closing in on the end of the game now. One thing that I should mention, I know I mentioned that when a level up happens, you're kind of locked into the text box until it goes away. Well, magic resist, I'm trying to think what it's called. Intelligence? It might be intelligence. Knowledge is magic attack. When you're hit with a magic spell or a fireball or anything like that that isn't just a physical clobbering, you get experience there. And I haven't been hit by a whole lot in this run, which means my stat is low, which means it levels quicker. So, on that previous boss, the dragon, and on the final boss, if I take damage from those, I'm going to gain a level and get locked out of input, which means that I'll get hit again and gain another level and get locked out of input. Alright, so, final battle time. This is amazing music. It's a super, super tense fight. I love it. We need both of our Ring of Lives just to enter the boss room. So, the boss is already active and shooting fireballs. Fireballs instantly kill me. The main goal is to hope that we can enter the room and not get spawn camped. So we entered the room, we didn't get killed. We did get killed because we're idiots. Alright, away we go. We can jump over the lasers, we can jump over the blue fireballs. Invisibility potion saves us from blue fireballs as well, but not red. And now we do this little dance. The green orbs teleport you back to the beginning of the room. If you stand in place for too long, the spike trap comes out. Essentially what I'm doing is just making sure that I'm canceling these text boxes. Oh, man! And trying to hit him twice per strafe here. And when I feel like my When I feel like my magic, my double strength magic is about to wear out, I refresh it. And that's kind of what you have to do here. This boss is one of the most tense boss fights I've ever had in the Super Nintendo. But it's so rewarding when you actually get it right. This is an interesting strat. I'm probably gonna hit the luck pouch. Yeah. Boy, that was ballsy. Man, that was really ballsy. I am very surprised I did that. Another thing here is that if his red fireballs hit the things that are on the laser beams there, whatever you want to call those, then it bounces back and it'll hit you from behind. So this fight is some bullshit, but it is so much fun to do, especially when it actually goes well. It is possible as well to clip through the teleporting bubbles. Much like a lot of the other things that I mentioned in this round, if you and it try and occupy the same tile at the same time, you phase through each other. So you can do that, but it didn't line up for me to do that in this run. So, ordinarily, here, if you save Alexis, you would get an Alexis cutscene and all that, but she's dead, so we don't get any of that. It's her fault that we were in those ruins to begin with, so I don't feel bad. But yeah, that's it. That's SNES Brandish. This game is amazing. It's absolutely outstanding, and I love it. I enjoyed every moment of learning to run this game, and I really enjoy the attempts. But I'm happy to not push this further. I'm happy to let Aussie take over and do what he does best. I'm gonna put all of his information in the YouTube description so you guys can follow him and watch his run, see what a real master does with this. But I'm satisfied with this run. It was a lot of fun to make it, and it was deathless. So I'm more than happy. I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the music. I love the ending theme. This is one of my favorite ending themes on the SNES. So I'm gonna let you listen to it, and yeah. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this run. I hope Brandish made a little bit more sense than it did if you had seen the run when I actually got it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that some of you give it a try for yourself, because it's awesome. And I'll see you guys next time.